After months of funding their dream property, I got a text from my brother. "We're moving forward without you. This is family only." I didn't respond. I called my lawyer, notarized my withdrawal from the deal, and requested a freeze on the joint business line. By dawn, my inbox was full of legal threats and one message from my mom: "You're tearing this family apart." I smiled and replied, "It didn't even make sense." I read it 3 times, waiting for my brain to fill in some missing context. Something that would make it not sound like a knife in the back. Just that smug little sentence from Tyler, my own brother, someone I had spent years propping up, someone who, without me, would have been flat on his face a dozen times over. The betrayal wasn't even subtle. Just a clean break. After 7 months of pouring money, time, and energy into our dream property, he decided I was no longer part of the dream. And that family line, that one, hit different. It was like being thrown out of your own house while someone else stood at the door telling you it was for members only. What made it worse was that I could still hear his voice in my head, pitching the whole idea to me in the first place. The retreat center in upstate New York, rustic cabins, creative workshops, guided hikes, a place for healing, he'd said, where we could build something together. He even called it our legacy. Now, suddenly, he was moving on without me. I didn't respond. I didn't call. I just sat still for a few minutes, then picked up the phone, not to call Tyler, but my lawyer. Within 2 hours, I had a notarized withdrawal from the property deal. By midnight, I had filed to freeze the joint business line we'd been using to fund operations. That line existed because of my credit, my money. I started that LLC back when Tyler couldn't even open a checking account without overdrafting it. He didn't see it coming. The next morning, when he tried to use the card for a bulk materials order, it was declined. And suddenly the guy who didn't have time to call me when he kicked me out of our own project was blowing on my phone. I didn't answer. I just watched the voicemails pile up. By noon, the panic had escalated into emails from some lawyer named Brent, full of vague threats and dramatic demands to restore access. Tyler must have told him a very curated version of the truth because Brent seemed to think I was just some jealous investor with a grudge. I didn't even reply. Let them waste their retainer. Then came Mom. She started with guilt, then nostalgia, then tears. "This isn't like you," she wrote. "You're tearing this family apart." I didn't even get. No, I just replied, "No, Mom. I'm just finally walking away from the fire." She didn't answer that one. It was always the same pattern. Tyler would screw something up. I'd clean it up. And somehow I'd be the one people were mad at, like when he dropped out of college and tried to flip used electronics online, then lost everything in 6 months. I paid off 42 grand of his debt. Not once did he say thank you. He just said, "You're the only one who believed in me." And then he asked for more. When he couldn't get a mortgage, I co-signed that house he brags about online, the one with the backyard fire pit and the detached garage where he runs his little business. He only got it because I pushed $1,200 into his lap and told him not to screw it up. He did anyway, just not in the way I expected. He thought he could cut me out, and I'd roll over, that I'd swallow the betrayal and come crawling back just to keep the peace. What he didn't get, what none of them ever got, was that peace isn't built on keeping toxic people comfortable. It's built on finally walking away from the chaos they create. And I wasn't done yet. Freezing the account was just step one. The rest was going to hit a lot harder. Tyler didn't take the silence well. He thought I was brooding, that I just needed time to cool off. What he didn't understand, what he never understood, was that silence for me wasn't hesitation. It was calculation. By the second day, the voicemails were unhinged. He went from pretending to be concerned to outright threatening me. You're blowing this up for no reason. You want to lose everything too? Keep going. I didn't answer. I saved the message. I was going to make sure every word was documented. Then came the emails. At first, all business. Please reinstate the joint account immediately to prevent delays. Then came the guilt. You've left us hanging, man. This isn't just about you. And when I didn't reply, the manipulation kicked in. I told Mom. She's devastated. You should call her. Instead, I called the supplier. I let them know I was no longer attached to the business. I told them Tyler was acting without authorization and to be cautious about extending any more credit. They weren't surprised. He had already missed one payment and was trying to delay the next. I removed my guarantee. That door slammed shut. The next morning, he tried to place a large materials order, and his card was declined. He found out about the freeze the hard way. I know, because he sent me one message. Just one, in all caps. What did you do? I didn't respond. I was busy taking back everything with my name on it. The domain for our business, I owned it. The hosting, also me. The SEO contract, the photography rights, even the booking software we had integrated into the retreat's website. It all ran through accounts I had created and paid for. I waited until he started promoting the summer opening before I pulled it offline. The website went dark without warning, and then I redirected the domain to a blank page with a single line. Under legal dispute, check back. Never. He must have nearly choked when he saw that. I got calls from a few mutual acquaintances, people who had no idea what was happening and assumed I was pulling some kind of stunt. One even told me Tyler said I had abandoned the project because I couldn't handle the pressure. I let him talk. Let them all talk. The real pressure hadn't even started yet. That night, Mom showed up. I didn't answer the door. She stood outside my building for 15 minutes, buzzing the intercom, calling my phone, then slipping a folded note into my mailbox. I watched from my kitchen window as she drove off. I didn't read the note. I didn't need to. It was always the same. Somehow Tyler would be the one who tried to make peace and I'd be the one holding a grudge. The thing is, I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. I was done cleaning up after people who dragged their mess into my life and expected me to say thank you for the privilege. I wasn't trying to destroy Tyler. I was just removing myself from the structure he built on my back. And he still didn't get it. He tried to file for a business development grant using our old LLC credentials. Credentials that no longer existed because I had formally deactivated the company 2 days earlier. He didn't know that yet. The grant application bounced. The agency flagged it for a mismatch in tax IDs and contacted the state for verification. Within 24 hours, he was locked out of 2 accounts, one for his business insurance, the other for the merchant processor we used. They both required verification from both registered owners, and I was no longer one of them. He texted again. Just one word this time. Seriously? Yeah. Seriously. And we were just getting started. By Friday, I knew the panic had officially set in. Tyler had always been slippery, smooth talking, good at playing calm, even when everything was falling apart. But I could tell he was unraveling. The signs were everywhere. Misspelled texts, rapid-fire voicemails, desperate emails, with subject lines like, "Let's talk this out," and "You're taking this too far." The thing is, I hadn't done anything rash. I hadn't gone scorched earth. I hadn't posted online or called in favors or aired our drama in public. All I'd done was remove what I built from under his feet, quietly, cleanly, legally, and now he was flailing. That afternoon, he showed up in person at my office. I saw him through the security feed, standing in the lobby with his hands in his pockets, trying to look composed. My assistant buzzed me and said, "Your brother's downstairs, says it's important." I told her to ask him to leave. She did. He waited exactly 6 minutes, then left without a word. I didn't need to see him. I already knew what he wanted. By that evening, I got an email from a new lawyer. Not Brent. This one had a fancier letterhead, but the same weak teeth. They threatened legal action unless I restored access to the business accounts, reversed the LLC closure, and handed over all branding rights. They claimed I was acting in bad faith and violating verbal agreements. My attorney sent a single sentence in response. Our client is under no legal or financial obligation to subsidize mismanagement and entitlement. The next day, things escalated. Tyler had tried to push a zoning application through the city office for construction on the retreat land. He forged a document that made it seem like I had agreed to transfer development rights to him. What he didn't know was that the planning department still had my number listed as the primary contact. They called me directly. I asked them to forward the application, reviewed it, and then submitted a formal fraud notification, along with my rescind letter and proof of my withdrawal. The application was flagged for investigation and held indefinitely. So much for moving forward without me. By Sunday, the whispers started. Family members I hadn't heard from in months suddenly felt the urge to check in. My aunt wanted to know why I was being so cold. A cousin sent a cryptic message. "He's not perfect, but he's your brother." My inbox started to fill with reminders of how we used to be close and how mom's worried sick. Then Amber called. She tried to keep it neutral, but I could hear the undertone. "He's not in a good place, Map. You know, he's got a lot tied up in this." I didn't respond at first. She waited. Then she said, "I just think you should talk to him. That's all. You two built something incredible together. Don't throw it away." And there it was, that same old line, that I was breaking something we both created. But the truth was there never was a we. There was me taking meetings building decks, negotiating contracts, fronting cash. Tyler showed up for photo ops and posted inspirational quotes on our social media pages. That was the extent of his contribution. He never once stayed up till 3 a.m. fixing a spreadsheet that didn't reconcile, never sat in front of a blank business plan wondering how to make it all work, never risked his personal credit to float us through the slow season. The retreat wasn't our legacy. It was mine, and he was lucky to be attached to it for as long as he was. The part Tyler hadn't figured out yet was that I'd already started something
new.
A better location, a tighter plan, clean branding without the baggage of his name attached. I'd already filed the LLC, solo ownership. The first deposit on the land was done. Construction team lined up. No public fanfare. No posts, just progress. Tyler was busy, scrambling, trying to keep the illusion alive. He didn't know it was already dead. His version of success, built on my backing and his own inflated sense of importance, had finally collapsed under its own
Wait.
And now I was out, not angry, not even vindictive, just free. By the middle of the next week, the silence on my end was starting to make waves on his. Tyler had stopped contacting me directly, probably because every time he tried, I either ignored him or let my lawyer handle it with clinical indifference. That's when he switched tactics. He didn't come at me. He tried to circle around me. It started with a visit to my dad. Now, my dad and I weren't especially close. Divorced when we were kids, lived a few towns over, remarried, quiet guy. But Tyler figured he could win him over. Pitch some story about how I was tearing the family apart and destroying everything we worked for. What he didn't know was that Dad didn't know him. Anything. In fact, Dad pulled me aside once at a family barbecue and said, that kid always acted like he was owed the world. And that was when Tyler was 19. So when Tyler showed up at his door with the sad eyes and half-truths, Dad told him something simple. If Matt cuts you off, you probably earned it. Tyler left after 15 minutes. Then something happened that I didn't expect. I got a message from one of our former suppliers, a woman named Julia, who ran a small reclaimed wood shop we used for the retreat's aesthetic. She told me Tyler had tried to place a large order under our old company name, promising Matt will clear the invoice. She'd already declined it, but wanted to give me a heads up, said something about how Tyler seemed off, desperate. That's when I realized he wasn't just spiraling. He was trying to rebuild the whole project without me, without money, and using my name like a key to doors that were now locked. And then something even stranger. I got a call from a guy named Roman. I didn't recognize the name at first. He explained he was a private investor who Tyler had reached out to, offered him a chance to buy into a lakeside retreat that was nearly complete. Roman asked if I was still involved because Tyler had dropped my name several times during the pitch. That was bold. He didn't just try to cut me out. He was using my reputation to attract new money, pretending the project was still ours, still stable. Roman told me the deal seemed fishy. He's sweating, man, he said, trying to move fast, but the details don't line up. Something felt off. Then I Googled you. I thanked him and asked if he'd be willing to forward the proposal Tyler sent. He did. I printed it and handed it straight to my lawyer. What Tyler didn't know was that using my name and likeness without permission, especially to solicit investment, was a huge legal misstep. I had him dead too. Rights. The legal notice we sent that afternoon was worded carefully. A cease and desist letter along with a formal warning that any further use of my identity or association with the business would result in immediate legal action. I knew it would land hard. He couldn't run the con anymore, but the fallout wasn't just legal. That same night, Mom called. This time, she didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just said he's in trouble. He's talking about selling the house. The house I helped him buy. Apparently, he tried to refinance and couldn't qualify. He was running out of options. Investors were backing off. The website was gone. The retreat was no longer on the map. And all that was left was the wreckage of a life he'd built on someone else's foundation. I asked her, "And what exactly do you want me to do about it?" She was quiet for a long time. Then she said something that stuck with me. "You used to be his anchor. Now he's drifting." I didn't say what I was thinking. That anchors only drag you down if you let them. Tyler wasn't drifting. He was sinking, and I wasn't about to dive in after him. A week after the cease and desist landed, the unraveling picked up speed. Tyler had gone quiet, not silent, just quiet, the kind of quiet that meant he was either scheming or spiraling. I didn't care which. I'd cut off every financial tie, scrubbed our names off, everything we ever built together, and moved on to the new project like he never existed. But Tyler wasn't done. One morning, I got a notification from a name I hadn't seen in years. Jason Farrell. Back in the early days of our business, Jason had been our go-to contractor until Tyler pushed him out over a pricing dispute. I opened the message, expecting something random. Instead it said, "Hey, just got a strange call. Your brother offered me a cut of a new build. Said you were still involved. Sounded shady. Thought you should know." I stared at the screen for a second. Tyler was still trying to dig his way back into my shadow, still using my name like a master key. I forwarded the message to my lawyer, told him to update the enforcement notice that afternoon. Something hit that even I didn't see coming. Tyler posted a video. He went live on social media standing on the porch of the unfinished retreat house. He framed it like a behind-the-scenes update, but the whole thing was a thinly veiled attack. Said vague things about being betrayed by someone close and how certain people don't want to see you succeed. He never said my name, but every single comment did. My phone started lighting up. Friends, clients, even a few old partners messaging me, asking what was going on. I watched the whole thing start to finish and just shook my head. He looked exhausted, sweaty, rambling. He even pointed to the empty cabin behind him like it was some kind of achievement. What he didn't know was that 2 days earlier, I had made a quiet call to the county. I had flagged the property for abandoned construction, something they take very seriously in our area, without a valid permit and with no inspections passed in over 90 days. The county had the right to post a stop work order, and that's exactly what he 2 days after his live stream, someone sent me a photo, a red sign, nailed to the retreat's front gate. Work. Halted pending review. The final blow. And then it got quiet again. This time, the kind of quiet I knew. The kind that comes when someone realizes they've finally run out of exits. No more business account. No permits. No funding. No family handouts. Just consequences. 3 nights later, Mom showed up again. No warning. Just buzzed the intercom at 9 p.m. I didn't answer. She waited 5 minutes, then left a voicemail. He's selling the house. I already knew. A friend in real estate told me it hit the listings that morning. Price low. He was trying to offload it before foreclosure. Took it from him. She ended the message with, "You have to at least talk to him. You're both my sons." That was the last thing she ever said to me, because the next morning I blocked her number. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't revenge. It was clarity. They hadn't just let Tyler drain me for years. They handed him the cup. Every time I set a boundary, they broke it for him. Every time I gave in, they acted like I owed it to him. But not this time. This time, the boundary held, and one by one, I started shutting every door. The house sold for less than what he owed. I knew it before the listing was even taken down. A quiet source, someone in real estate I'd helped out years ago, messaged me out of the blue. Tyler's place went fast, undervalued. Looks like a fire sale. There was no press release, no dramatic post, just a single story on his profile with a caption, "Onward." A photo of his belongings crammed into a storage unit. It got a dozen sympathy replies, people telling him to keep pushing and stay strong, as if his whole mess was just bad luck. He never said my name, but I could see the pattern. He was trying to spin the story again, frame himself as the one rebuilding after being betrayed, like he hadn't been the one holding the match when everything burned down. And then it happened. I got one last email, not from Tyler, from some lawyer I'd never heard of. His 3rd or 4th by now. The tone was different. It wasn't aggressive like the others. It was vague and meandering. Buried in the legal lingo was what sounded like a plea that we return to negotiations, that I consider an equitable solution, that perhaps we could meet in good faith. It was laughable. There was no equity left to divide, nothing to negotiate. He'd lost the property. The business was dissolved. The brand was offline. The suppliers had moved on. There was no we anymore. There hadn't been for a long time. My lawyer didn't even bother replying. That was the final straw for me. I opened my phone and scrolled through my blocked numbers list. Tyler's was already there. But I wasn't done. Mom's number. Blocked. Her endless guilt messages, her silence when Tyler crossed lines, her refusal to hold him accountable, gone. And Sharon, blocked. She called me 3 times after the house sold. Each time, opening with, "You've made your point. Now come home." I don't know what home she was referring to. The one where I was used like a wallet with legs? Not interested. Cousin Lucas, cousin Rachel, even my uncle, who'd once called Tyler the entrepreneur of the family while I was sitting right there, blocked. 6 names, 6 exits. It didn't feel dramatic. It felt overdue. That night, I slept better than I had in months. No. More phone vibrations in the middle of dinner. No more long texts pretending to be apologies that pivoted into blame. No. More strings to untangle. I was finally out. A few weeks later, I got a call from the builder at my new property. The second cabin was ahead of schedule. The trails were cut. The deck, overlooking the water, was finished. And they just installed the wood-burning stove I'd wanted from day one. I drove up 2 days later to see it in person. The air was cold and quiet. The sun low. The lake perfectly still. And for the first time in years, my name was the only one on the deed. No drama. No interference. No one leeching off the dream. Just me standing on land I owned. On a project I built with my own time, money, and grit. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like I'd won anything. I just felt done. Tyler's still out there. Somewhere. Last I heard, he was renting a 1-bedroom in a city he used to mock for being too slow. He tried starting another side hustle, selling refurbished patio furniture. Posted some grainy video about turning pain into purpose. A few people liked it. A few left comments. I didn't watch the whole thing. I don't hate him. I just don't know him anymore. He had a dozen chances to do right, to partner honestly, to respect what I gave. And every single time, he chose himself. That's not family. That's just someone using the word to keep their foot in the door. Now the door is closed, and it's going to stay that way. It's been exactly 6 months since I blocked them. No unblocks. No sleep upese. No curiosity. Late at night, that made me scroll through their profiles. Just quiet. The new retreat is fully booked for the season. 3 cabins, a main lodge, and a staff of 5. Every one of them handpicked. People who show up, do the work, and don't try to take more than they give. I didn't build it to prove a point. I built it because I finally had the space to do something without constantly managing someone else's damage. A few weeks ago, I got a letter forwarded to my new business address. No return address. Handwritten. I recognized the scrawl immediately. It was from Tyler. I didn't open it. I burned it in the fire pit behind the main lodge. Not out of spite. Out of peace. Some bridges don't need walking. They need leaving. And I've already walked far enough.